Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. So coming to you again from the kitchen island. I was finally able to get out, get back to the range and do some more shooting and testing for this 243 Winchester. If you'll remember, go back, watch some of the videos that I've already done on this rifle. It is a New England Firearms handy rifle, chambered in 243 Winchester, little single shot. Just a really neat, firearm to own and all that. The issue with this one, though, it's not really an issue. It's just kind of a limitation, we'll say, is that it has a 1 in 12 inch twist barrel. We found that out in a previous video after the factory ammo. I believe it was some 90 and 95 grain stuff, 100 grain stuff, whatever it was, shot just absolutely god awful. And so came back and measured the twist rate. It's kind of hard to find information about these guys, like a spec sheet or something that can give you barrel twist. It's very difficult to find on the old interwebs, but there's a way to measure it yourself. So that's what I did with my cleaning rod and some painter's tape, and was able to determine that it's 1 in 12, which 1 in 12 twist and 243, that puts you in the light bullet category, varmint, lightweight bullet category that will work in the rifle. So that ruled out the 100 grain Spear. I think they're the Grand Slam, I believe. The bullets that I actually bought for this project, it ruled those out right off the bat. So kind of had to shift gears, and I found some Hornady 75 grain VMAX in stock online. I was able to order those, get those in, and that's what we did our testing with to start off with, because again, this is I want this load to be sort of a multi-use load, so that way the 75 grain is still heavy enough. I feel like it would be a good enough round to get the job done on a white-tailed deer with proper shot placement. And then also, if you wanted to take out varmints, whatever, coyote hunt with it, so it's a dual use, right, multi-purpose round. And that was kind of what I was going for. I didn't want to load down to like the 58 grain VMAX and it just be pretty much a varmint round only. I was really trying to stretch the limitations here, push the limits on this one, and I think we did that, and we actually achieved really interesting results. Is the way I look at it, and really good results also. But right there, we figured out that we were probably right on the edge of what this barrel twist rate is capable of stabilizing, because if you'll remember, our initial loads, we're using Hodgson Superformance powder, and we started at 46 grains. The other shot was off the paper, off the target. But so then that was my point of aim, and so then I was like, okay, I'm hitting way low, need to just adjust up. So then I adjusted up, and then the next group was 46.5, and it was like, well, I mean, that's nothing to write home about. That's pretty ugly. But this was actually way better than the factory ammo that we tried, right? The 90 and the 95 grain stuff and the 100 grain stuff. This was just far and away better. So I was like, okay, maybe if we're moving up in charge weight and our velocity is increasing, maybe that will help and that will aid in the stability, which is the case. And so we had this really weird and interesting kind of point of impact shift as we went up in charge weight by a half grain. We just continued to climb, but at the same time, these two groups right here in the middle, it was very interesting because shoot a couple and then throw the third one, shoot a couple, throw the third one, but it tightened up just a little bit. And then the last group that I had loaded up, we ended at 48. And, yes, the point of impact was a lot higher than point of aim, which was down here, but that was the tightest group that we had shot with that rifle up until that point. So very promising stuff, and we hadn't reached the max charge yet. So that was the last video. That was where we left it. So I came back, I loaded up 4 more test groups. These guys right here, loaded up 4 more 3-shot groups. and I started at 48.2 and went up to 48.8. And so that is this target right here. So, and I did make a scope adjustment. I didn't want to run the risk of this going even higher and going off the target. So, but this was cold bore, 48.2, 48 we were 1.186, 48.2 we're 0.848. And the point of impact was a little bit higher on this one. I don't know if, that was due, maybe it was due to barrel heat, right? Because that was the last group that we shot. And I was trying my best to let everything cool down as much as possible, but still I was kind of rushed the day that I shot these rounds. And I mean, the point of impact shift is it's a weird thing that we're seeing no matter what. I don't think it's strictly barrel heat, but if you look at the difference between these two, right? Like if you line this dot up, I mean, we're slightly higher on our point of impact versus this one. I think that difference there, that delta, may be attributed to barrel heat, right? Because we're starting with a cold barrel, point of impact is still high. But we had two really promising groups, within that range, that 48 and then 48.2. And then I made a scope adjustment down, and this is 48.4, and I'm not going to bother measuring these guys because up here on this top end, it did that point of impact shift again. With the increase in charge weight, it just kind of continued to shift. This was 48.8, and I had to actually use my cleaning rod to eject the brass. So it didn't eject any of these 3 rounds. These little single shots, as soon as you pop it open, it'll, pop the brass out. It didn't do that with any of these 3 rounds. And so I wouldn't even want to fool with any of that anyway. But I feel like this area, the 48 and then the 48.2, very promising stuff. That's something where tweak the seating depth or anything like that. I think we could probably squeeze a little bit more accuracy out of that. I think we've come a long way. If you go back and watch the first video where I kind of show the factory ammo target, I mean, yeah, I don't blame the guy for being frustrated. It's my dad's boss. I don't blame him for being frustrated about how the rifle was shooting. But again, it's one of those where this barrel twist rate was not meant for the heavier bullets, right, in 243. So it's just not going to shoot them well at all anyway. You go, grab you some lightweight varmint loads, it'll probably shoot them pretty good. You may have to work to find a factory load that it likes, but I think you would get there in the end. So in this case, though, I think we're on the right track. I think we've narrowed in on a narrow window of what we could probably get this thing shooting pretty good with these 75 grain VMAX, the 48 and 48.2. I will probably go with 48.2 as the load, and we're sitting at a cartridge overall length of 2.640. So that's kind of the specs, if you guys are interested in that. And then we're shooting Hornady brass. So, and that's another thing I do want to bring up about this brass. This is all factory stuff. I had 2 boxes of, ended up with 2 full boxes of Hornady factory ammo. The one was the American Whitetail. The other box was the Superformance, the 95 grain SST. And it was very odd after shooting the brass and then measuring it. Almost all of it measured either right at the trim length, like the maximum overall length for the brass, or it was over it by a decent amount, like 5 thousandths. And that's just in the fire brass like that. That's without me resizing it, nothing. So I just found that to be kind of odd that the brass would be that long coming from the factory. Because I bought some Norma, a box of Norma for my 243 that I have, that I'm going to do a series of videos on. and every bit of that was, I mean, I'm talking almost 20 thousandths shorter, 15 to 20 thousandths shorter than what this Hornady stuff was. So I don't know. I found that to be kind of odd that it would be that long, that it would come from the factory basically already over the Sammy maximum length, right? Like what they want you to trim it to. Like once you hit a certain length, it's time for you to trim your brass back. And this stuff, after I shot it, it was already over that trim length. I found that to be very interesting. So I ended up trimming quite a bit of brass off of all of these pieces, off all 40, after I resized them. And they did grow a little bit more after I resized them, so I ended up trimming off a decent amount of brass. But that's where we're going to leave it. I think I feel pretty good about where we're at in terms of, the range that we're going to operate in here. I think with this 48.2, I think that's a really good load. I'm going to go back now. I'm going to load up probably the rest of these and just validate that this is in fact a good window, a good load for this rifle, and then we'll just roll with that. And I'll give the guy 40 rounds of the 75 grain VMAX loaded up at 48.2. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what's going to work out. And we'll leave it at that, and that'll be our load, and we'll call it done. So, but I do want to go back, since I made that scope adjustment, I want to go back, load some of these up. I want to validate that, yes, this is actually what we're going to see on target consistently, and I want to check this point of impact, right? Like I need to make sure that shift down is exactly where where we want to be with this load. So that's it. That's the update. Probably got a couple more videos coming for this one, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Get this rifle back to that guy. I don't like keeping folks stuff forever, like except for Richard. he can probably laugh about that when I had his 7mm 08 for quite a while. So yeah, that's where we're gonna leave it. Make sure you guys go if you're looking for reloading stuff. Components, primers, powder, a lot of that stuff's coming in stock quite a bit online now if you just kind of stay on top of it. Primers are still expensive. If you buy them online, you got to pay the hazmat fee and all that on top of it. So I'm holding off on those. I don't plan on buying primers for a while. I'm going to wait for them to eventually start hitting the shelves a little more consistently before I pick some up. But powder, I mean, I'm seeing powder just sitting on the shelves or sitting in stock online, pretty much at all the major players that sell reloading stuff, Midway USA, Brownells, Mid-South, all those guys. And then also, if you're local to Huntsville, make sure you get down to Mr. Big Guns over in Huntsville. Check out Matt and Tom and all those guys down there. Go talk to them. He just got in a pretty good shipment of reloading stuff, got in a bunch of dies. Reloading equipment. I don't think he got in another powder shipment since his last one, but he had there for a while. I mean, he had a bunch of like H335 sitting on the shelf, that kind of stuff. He had a bunch of accurate powders, and there's still some on the shelf now. So if you're local and you're looking for that kind of stuff, make sure you get down there, check out what they have. Yeah, and then if you're out in Gurley, out on 72 in Gurley, Alabama, which is not, it's just east of Huntsville. Midway Pistol and Ammo, used to be Midway Pistol and Pawn. Mark and Robert out there. Mark changed the name Midway Pistol and Ammo. So go stop in, see those guys. If you're looking for firearms, ammo, knives, they're a Benchmade dealer, I believe. Yes, I'm almost positive it's Benchmade. They've got a really cool selection of Benchmade knives over there. Really nice stuff. So you guys go check them out. Let them know I sent you in. So that's it. We'll catch y'all next time. I'm heading to the woods in the morning. So y'all wish me luck. I'll gonna head over to Bankhead. Hopefully get a monster like Michael Perry did. That dude killed a giant. So we'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a good one.